My name is Engineer Buge Wasioya. After primary school, I went to Friends School, Kamsinga, for my O-levels, because those days there were O-levels and A-levels. So for A-levels, I went to Nakuru High School, which I finished in 1977. Then I went to university, and after that I got married, and I raised a family. I have a wife and 6 children. My first job was actually just before I joined university. I got a job as a teacher after my A-levels. I taught for about 9 months in a secondary school as we were waiting to join university. So I taught in a secondary school. I was teaching mathematics and physics in a school called Kuywa Girls, which is just near where I was born and brought up. After that, then I went to the University of Nairobi. I was actually sponsored by, it was called the East African Power and Lighting Company from 1978 to 81. Then after that, I underwent another 1 year of training, and then I started working properly in 1982 as an engineer, electrical engineer. I was in the design office. It was called Central Office Design. That was an electricity house where the headquarters of East African Power and Lighting were. So, of course, in 1983, the company changed the name from East African Power and Lighting to Kenya Power and Lighting Company. We were doing several projects, rural electrification projects, designing rural electrification projects, which of course gave me an opportunity to go around the country a lot. Then I was taken to operations and maintenance. We were the department that was responsible for making sure that the lights stay on. And those days, if you had an outage that lasted for more than 3 hours, you would have to give an explanation in writing why that happened. And so we really tried our best to make sure that our systems were good. I was basically in Kenya Power for, that's about 16 years. And I voluntarily, there was that option to retire early if you wished. So I left and I was out for a short while. Then with the reorganizations in the energy sector, there was the establishment of the Electricity Regulatory Board. I think it was established around 1999, thereabouts, after the Electric Power Act of 1997. So I joined ERB, as it was then called, in the year 2000. Then the institution, in 2006, there was a change in the legislation, where now the Electric Power Act of 1997 was replaced by the Energy Act of 2006. So as a consequence, the ERB, Electricity Regulatory Board, was changed to Energy Regulatory Commission with a wider mandate, because previously we were regulating only electricity. From 2006, we were now doing the whole energy sector: electricity, renewable energy, petroleum. After I retired from ERC in December 2017, a few months later, some friends of mine who are running this organization called M&E Consulting Engineers, they approached me if I could come and work with them in consultancy. And I said, okay, why not? So I came, and I've been with M&E Consulting Engineers since then as a director and in charge of the electricity department. So that's where I have been, and I think in around 2019 there were applications for persons to become members of the Energy and Petroleum Tribunal. So I applied and we were interviewed, and eventually we were appointed. One of the things that I realized when I was appointed O&M engineer in Central Rift in Nakuru, I realized one of the biggest problems we had, and I think you have witnessed it here, you know, the monkeys and the trees, they are not very good friends with the power lines. So we used to have a lot of interruptions with our power lines, especially in the highly, you know, the places where there is a lot of vegetation. And so as part of our work in O&M, one of the things was to keep the lines clear of vegetation, because those are the things that cause interruptions. And I noted that we had a problem in trimming those lines, and yet I would see sometimes now in my, you know, when you are just walking around, you find other guys, you know, not really staff, in the public there you find people who are very good at trimming lines. So I was asking myself, why why are we struggling with trimming these lines with our staff, and yet there are people out there who can do this job a little better than we are doing. So I talked to my boss and we agreed that you know, he allows us to see whether we can engage some people on contract basis to do those clearing of the trees along the power lines, and this really helped us a lot. So I think it was more or less the beginning of outsourcing some of the services in Kenya Power. I don't know how things are now going on, but I think when we started that, we found that there was a lot that we could gain in terms of efficiency in maintenance of the lines. But also you know, it was a way also of getting other people to earn some decent income. I was part of the committee that did drafted we of course collecting the views and then coming up with the bill, the energy bill, which then went to Parliament. It was debated, some changes made, and eventually it was enacted now as the Energy Act of 2006. So for the young professionals, they have much more knowledge at their disposal than we had in our time. And I think they need to make use of it, take advantage of it. I think they should be able to achieve much more than we did if they use this opportunity that is at their disposal. Sometimes they may take it for granted. I mean, they imagine that these things were always there. We didn't have them. Now they have. I think they should make use of them. I think people in the energy sector need to know that they are actually playing a very big role to ensure that the country is well served with modern and affordable and efficient energy that is available all the time.